When the silent custodian became the most formidable force in the room, no one anticipated the transformation. The studio was already alive with the buzz of early morning rehearsals at Meridian Productions, but nobody noticed Marisol as she slipped quietly through the service entrance, pushing her cleaning cart with deliberate, unhurried grace. Dressed in her deep navy uniform like a suit of armor, her expression remained composed and unyielding, concealing the passionate resolve she harbored beneath her calm exterior. To the directors, managers, and artists, she was simply the cleaning lady, the unobtrusive worker who swept the floors, wiped down set pieces, and discreetly cleared away the remnants of coffee and props, occasionally exchanging a polite nod with the few who acknowledged her presence. For years at Meridian Productions, a prestigious media house nestled in the heart of Los Angeles, Marisol, now in her early 40s, had grown accustomed to the routine dismissiveness and undercurrent of snide remarks made behind her back. Not even doing anything of note right now, someone had scoffed just last week, as she silently waited for a meeting to conclude so she could restore order to the chaotic backstage area. Yet, Marisol never reacted outwardly. She maintained her quiet focus, her hands steady as she performed her tasks, fully aware that any reaction would only feed the condescension directed at her. What none of the bustling staff realized was that Marisol held a secret so potent it could upend the very foundation of Meridian Productions. Marisol was no impulsive soul, she believed in the power of patient observation and silent accumulation of truths. However, as she traversed the brightly lit corridors, her serene demeanor belied the storm brewing within, a storm fueled by years of injustice. As the morning unfolded with the meticulous polishing of glass doors, the systematic vacuuming of plush carpets, and the orderly arrangement of scattered scripts and paperwork, a heated conversation about an upcoming stakeholders meeting drifted into her ears. An executive declared, with smug arrogance, "The board adores our figures and our CEO remains untouchable." Marisol's heart pounded as the weight of every slight and every injustice converged into a singular moment of defiance. With unwavering resolve and a mind sharpened by years of silent observation, she prepared to confront the very pillars of power at Meridian Productions, determined to ignite a revolution that would forever change their world indeed. Marisol's resolve deepened with every measured step as she gripped the cold handle of her cleaning cart, its metallic surface a tangible reminder of the power she quietly nurtured. In the charged atmosphere of Meridian Productions, no sane mind would dare challenge the entrenched tyranny of the ruling elite. For one fleeting moment, she paused, her eyes reflecting a storm of emotions and silent fury, aware that the arrogant executives had no inkling of the impending reckoning. They remained oblivious, their smirks and haughty attitudes steeped in ignorance of the dark truths Marisol had amassed over years of meticulous observation. Yet, she could not afford to linger on her inner satisfaction, there was much work ahead, and she had to be prepared for the tidal wave of change she was about to unleash. Meridian Productions prided itself on a sleek, modern facade, a sprawling edifice of shimmering glass and polished steel that had earned accolades in glossy business magazines as a beacon of corporate success. However, behind that dazzling exterior lurked a ruthless culture where ambition reigned and humanity was routinely sacrificed. Over nearly a decade navigating these corridors, Marisol had silently witnessed how promotions were handed to the loudest voices rather than those with true merit. She had observed secretive deals conducted behind closed doors, where mistakes were artfully concealed by shifting blame onto those too powerless to defend themselves. And then there was the infamous CEO, Damien, whose presence exuded a dangerous blend of authority and arrogance. His booming voice would silence dissent, and his scorn for anyone not conforming to his ideal was both calculated and merciless. Marisol recalled with bitter clarity the day Damien ridiculed an aging stagehand, dismissing him with a callous remark about his supposed obsolescence. It wasn't only the biting words, unethical practices permeated every facet of Meridian Productions. Covert manipulations of budgets, inflated expense reports, and the systematic suppression of whistleblowers painted a grim picture of exploitation. The cleaning crew, along with many overlooked workers, bore the brunt of this toxic environment, their dignity trampled under the crushing weight of greed. Yet, as Marisol maneuvered through the labyrinthine halls, every slight and injustice fortified her determination, fueling a revolutionary fire that promised to shatter the empire of deceit and restore honor to Meridian Productions. Every step forward echoed with memories of every injustice she had borne, and whispered rumors of malpractice ignited her resolve to rewrite the future. As morning light streamed through high windows, Marisol embraced her destiny with courage, ready to expose every hidden secret and dismantle the corrupt hierarchy completely. As the day wore on and tensions simmered beneath the glittering veneer of Meridian Productions, Damien's tirade against the cleaning staff reached a fever pitch. His eyes flashed with venom as he barked at Marisol, who had just passed by with her mop and bucket, as if the clamor of chaos was entirely her fault. "Clean this mess up," he roared, his voice echoing down the marble halls. Even as the young intern scrambled to apologize and hurried to rectify the minor mishap, Damien dismissed him with a sweeping hand, as though the intern's words were mere background noise. To Damien, individuals like Marisol and the intern were insignificant, barely worthy of a second glance. These harsh moments had accumulated over the years like relentless drops of rain carving deep canyons in rock. Each slight, each demeaning remark, had added to a mounting weight of injustice that Marisol bore in silence. Though her exterior remained composed, inside she seethed with the sting of disrespect and the exhaustion of perpetual invisibility. Instead of crumbling under the pressure, Marisol stored each instance like ammunition, fueling her resolve to one day shatter the oppressive facade of the production house. Always vigilant, Marisol observed every nuance of the workplace, noting every instance where the company's gleaming success was built on the exploitation of its most vulnerable workers. She understood that behind every polished surface lay a sinister truth, the ruthless ambition of those in power who cared little for human dignity. Far from merely taking mental notes, Marisol had been meticulously planning her course of action. She had kept a secret that few could fathom, not out of fear, but out of deliberate strategy. Beneath her humble role as a custodian, Marisol was the largest shareholder in Meridian Productions, a title inherited following the untimely passing of her beloved husband. At first, the overwhelming power had bewildered her, but over time, she realized that invisibility was her greatest advantage. It allowed her to listen without suspicion and observe without being noticed, gathering evidence of every betrayal and injustice. The final straw had come one fateful evening, as she was finishing her rounds in the executive lounge. Marisol had overheard senior managers laughing callously about layoffs, deriding dedicated employees as expendable. Their cavalier words ignited a fury within her, a fire that promised to blaze through the corridors of corruption and rewrite the destiny of Meridian Productions once and for all. In that moment, the silence that followed Damien's command crackled with the promise of retribution, and every echo in the grand hall served as a prelude to the upheaval that Marisol was determined to unleash. Her defiance now resonated as an unmistakable call for justice. Marisol paused at the threshold of the executive lounge, her fingers tightening around the worn cleaning cloth as if it were a talisman against the cruelty she had endured. She had long known that the numbers in the glossy reports were not mere figures, they represented real people with families, bills, and dreams, a stark contrast to how management dehumanized them as expendable assets. That very night, in the quiet solitude of her modest apartment, Marisol sat at her battered kitchen table, a steaming cup of chamomile tea beside a well-worn notepad. With trembling determination, she began to document every unethical practice she had witnessed, every soul crushed under the weight of corporate greed, and every moment of indignity that had haunted her over the years. By dawn's early light, her meticulous notes had coalesced into a plan that promised to upend the status quo at Meridian Productions. The first step was to delve deeper into the labyrinth of hidden corruption. Using her access to every corner of the building, Marisol carefully collected snippets of overheard conversations, noted the erratic schedules of the higher-ups, and even discreetly observed abandoned documents left unattended on desks. She was not stealing, she was assembling the puzzle of a system built on deceit. The next phase of her audacious strategy was to call upon her trusted allies, friends who were lawyers, financial analysts, and ex-employees disillusioned by the company's practices. Over hushed late-night phone calls and secret meetings, they pieced together the extent of the malfeasance, crafting a blueprint to expose the toxic culture and secure the company's future for those who had been exploited for so long. The final, most daunting step was to confront the heart of the corruption, the board and the tyrannical CEO. Marisol practiced her speech in the mirror, her voice growing steadier and more resolute with every rehearsal. She knew that this was not merely a personal vendetta, it was a battle for every worker who had been dismissed, underestimated, or treated as less than human. With the shareholders meeting less than a week away, she steeled herself for a reckoning that would shake the very foundations of Meridian Productions. As the day of the meeting loomed, a sense of electrifying anticipation filled her being. Marisol was no longer just a silent custodian, she was the bearer of justice, determined to reshape a corrupt empire. Her final preparations echoed with the promise of retribution as she rolled her cart toward the top-floor conference room, every step resounding with the hope of a new dawn. Her resolve blazed with determination. Marisol's face remained an impassive mask as she stepped into the boardroom, a chamber of stark contrast to the rest of Meridian Productions. The long, polished table gleamed under soft, ambient lighting while the floor-to-ceiling windows revealed a breathtaking view of the Los Angeles skyline, a symbol of the company's ostensible grandeur. Seated around the table were the organization's most powerful figures, led by CEO Damien, whose commanding presence and smug arrogance exuded an air of invincibility. Marisol entered as quietly as she had always done, her steps measured and deliberate. She placed a small, unassuming item, a framed picture of water, on the side table, a subtle reminder of life's fluidity and the necessity for change. To these men, she was merely part of the background, an unnoticed detail in their grand design. Yet today, Marisol would not fade into obscurity. "Excuse me," she declared, her voice slicing through the room like a sharpened blade. Heads turned in confusion and irritation as whispers filled the space. Damien barely spared her a glance, dismissively remarking, "We're in the middle of something." "I know," Marisol replied, her tone steady and resolute. "That's precisely why I'm here." Damien leaned back in his chair, a condescending smile spreading across his face. "Unless you're here to clean up after us, I suggest you leave," he sneered. Undeterred, Marisol stepped forward, retrieving a folder from her cleaning cart and setting it firmly on the table. The folder bore the Meridian Productions logo alongside the words, "Shareholders Report." In an instant, the room fell deathly silent. Damien's smirk faltered as Marisol began to speak, her voice unwavering and laced with righteous fury. "For years," she proclaimed, "I have watched this company thrive on the backs of those you refuse to acknowledge as human beings. I have witnessed employees exploited, ethical boundaries crossed, and profits placed above people's lives." Her eyes swept over the assembled board members as murmurs of shock erupted. One member leaned forward, squinting at the dossier. "This," Marisol continued, "is proof, undeniable evidence of unethical practices, mismanagement, and a callous disregard for the very people who keep this enterprise running." Damien's booming voice resonated as he demanded, "Who do you think you are, coming in here and making these accusations? You're just a cleaning lady." Marisol met his glare with an unyielding calm. "No, Mr. Damien," she stated firmly, "I am the majority shareholder of Meridian Productions, and today, I am firing you." A thunderous shock rippled through the room as Damien's demeanor crumbled under the weight of her revelation. He stammered, "You're joking." With her declaration ringing in the boardroom, chaos erupted like a tempest, shattering the carefully constructed facade of Meridian Productions. The executives, who had once scoffed at Marisol's quiet presence, now found themselves scrambling as the weight of undeniable evidence crashed upon them. One by one, board members turned toward her, their expressions a mix of shock and reluctant admiration as they pored over the damning dossier she had so meticulously prepared. Questions flew in rapid succession, each query confirming the numerous unethical practices that had been hidden beneath layers of corporate deceit. It wasn't long before the room, thick with tension and disbelief, resonated with the sound of a unanimous vote. Marisol's power to remove the tyrannical CEO was being executed, and there was no turning back. Damien's once commanding voice now trembled as he attempted, in vain, to argue his case. His protests, no longer the force they had once been, fell on deaf ears as security, now acting on Marisol's decisive orders, escorted him out of the building. In that moment, the boardroom transformed from a temple of corporate pride into a stage for a profound act of justice. Marisol stood tall at the center of it all, her back straight and her gaze calm, a beacon of resilience amid the swirling storm of disbelief. The very executives who had earlier dismissed her now regarded her with a newfound mix of awe, guilt, and an emerging respect that could not be ignored. As news of Damien's removal spread like wildfire through the corridors of Meridian Productions, whispers began to fill every break room and hallway. The revelation that Marisol, the unassuming custodian, had been the majority shareholder all along left the entire workforce reeling. What was once a story of invisibility had morphed into a powerful symbol of transformation. In the aftermath, the office buzzed with questions and a sense of reawakened purpose. Marisol did not linger in the spotlight for her own glory. Instead, she immediately set her sights on the greater task at hand, reshaping the company's future. The very next day, she returned not with a mop and bucket but armed with a clipboard and a detailed plan for change. In the weeks that followed, Marisol worked tirelessly to overturn the old, toxic culture that had once reigned supreme. She began by ensuring that those who had long been overlooked, whether they were janitors, secretaries, or interns, finally received the recognition and raises they so rightly deserved. Determined to restore fairness and transparency, she revamped the Human Resources Department, introducing a third-party watchdog to rigorously oversee harassment and discrimination complaints. The old board, once complicit in the inhumane practices, found themselves held accountable for every misstep. Regular training sessions focusing on ethics, inclusion, and employee well-being were instituted, and for the first time in many years, everyone at Meridian Productions felt seen, heard, and valued. Marisol's journey did not stop there. She initiated town hall meetings where employees from all levels could share their experiences and ideas. Listening intently to each story, she took careful notes, ensuring that every voice contributed to the reformation of the company. One day, as she walked through the bustling halls, a young intern, the same one who had once spilled coffee in terror, approached her. With sincere gratitude in his eyes, he said, "Thank you for everything you've changed in this place." Marisol's warm smile in response was not just for him but for every individual who had suffered silently for too long. It was a quiet celebration of their collective victory over years of disregard and exploitation. Looking out from the panoramic windows of Meridian Productions that afternoon, Marisol reflected on the incredible transformation that had taken place. She thought about how her journey, born from the everyday struggles of a cleaning lady, had evolved into a powerful reminder that even the most inconspicuous among us can become catalysts for profound change. Her story is not merely about the removal of a corrupt CEO or the exposure of unethical practices, it is a testament to the strength of resilience, patience, and unwavering integrity in the face of relentless adversity. For anyone reading this, take heart and remember that you, too, possess the power to change your circumstances. Embrace every challenge as an opportunity to learn, observe, and act when the time is right. Let Marisol's journey inspire you to fight for fairness and justice in your own life, whether at work, in your community, or in your personal relationships. Sometimes, the quietest voices hold the most revolutionary ideas, and it is never too late to stand up for what is right. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the X-DailyStories channel for more powerful tales of resilience and triumph. Write number 1 in the comments section if you have watched and liked it, and please share your thoughts with us. Your voice matters, let it be heard, and together we can build a future where everyone is valued and respected. This is not just a story, it's a call to action for us all to never underestimate the potential within ourselves, and a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we can rise up, transform our lives, and spark change that ripples far beyond our own existence. Remember, every small step toward justice in your life can ignite transformative change. Act now, without hesitation.